Street Easy knows former New Yorkers never stop talking about how much they miss living in NYC.
Life used to feel like a movie, but since we left and bought a house, it's like living in a DIY home repair video.
When it's time to buy, let Street Easy connect you with the right agent you need to never leave NYC. Go to StreetEasy.com to learn more. Street Easy is an assumed name of Zillow Inc., which has licenses in all 50 states.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide. Visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, I'm Kate Lindsay.
And I'm Daisy Rosario, and you're listening to ICYMI.
In case you missed it.
Slate's podcast about internet culture.
And Daisy, welcome back to the pod. Well, back for you, but this is our first time being both on mic together. How does it feel?
I mean, it feels a little bittersweet because I'm here because our own Candace Lim is out sick today. So Candace, feel better. We miss you. I talk to you every single work day for this show. I feel like you guys broke my, in case of emergency, break the glass and Daisy will sit in the chair. So, in that sense, I'm happy to be sitting across from you today.
Yeah. And I mean, what better episode than this one? Like, I don't know if there's been a story before this one that all of us, you, me, Candace, our producer Vic, have been this uniquely and separately invested in, which is the woman on TikTok who fell in love with her psychiatrist.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is, part 1.
So, Daisy, what does your side of TikTok look like thanks to this story?
Oh, it absolutely looks like this story and then a breakdown of this story. It just depends on which type of analysis of this story that you'd like to see. But I honestly think that the more kind of jarring part to me is that I also see this all over Reels, which is how you know it is big, because Reels is usually like 2 weeks behind.
Right.
And right now they're only like 18 hours behind.
Right. Like you'd think they'd just be learning about this.
Right. No, like I saw some of the most interesting content I saw was on Reels. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when TikTok and Reels can unite, that really means something. Like that's the new monoculture. And, if you listening have only caught bits and pieces of this, or if you've somehow missed it entirely, we are talking about a woman named Kendra Hilty. She is a yoga instructor and a life coach and occasional TikTok poster, but as of late, relentless TikTok poster, because she has released a 25-part series and counting, plus 13 videos beforehand that were kind of teasing it.
At the time of this recording, honestly, we should say, because it keeps moving.
We might even, in the hour that it takes to do this, come back to more videos. But they began on August 2nd, and they are documenting her time with a psychiatrist where she frames it as, I was in love with him, he knew, and kept me on. She's used the word grooming. She very much treats this as a situation in which she had feelings for him, and he was taking advantage of her. And so from the bat, very juicy story.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you hear that highlight and you're like, tell me more.
Yeah.
And I just saw it going viral immediately. And you could tell people were locked in. There were a lot of posts that were like, let me sit down for this one, and then it started getting written up in the cut. I mean, as soon as we start seeing, the other people that we know cover the space that we cover on ICYMI, something's big.
Yeah. And I think what made this even bigger was actually that it turned out to not be something we all just locked into and watched and sort of felt the same way that we felt at the beginning. The story it promised to be ended up kind of being one that was totally different, because as the videos started coming out, as Kendra was explaining in more detail, the internet, for the most part, started to take the psychiatrist's side. And so So she's posting these videos. The feedback she's getting is not actually the feedback she expected. It's people being like, wait, I actually don't know how I feel about this. Or like, wait, I think you've misinterpreted this. And she does not want to hear it. She doubles down to like kind of a worrying degree. And as these videos continue, she starts exhibiting behavior that concerns some viewers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at first, even amongst us, I think we were like, this seems like it's going to be the next Risa Tisa story, right?
Yeah.
And you can see a lot of TikToks that start that way.
Hi, and welcome. We all know why you're here. You're here for part of the new series that I'm calling Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
Risa Tisa, as you probably remember, is the woman who went viral for her 50-part Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Rachel and Candace did a fantastic episode on that when it happened, right? And that was like a huge TikTok series. It ended up everywhere. Everybody knew about it. But as more parts of this story dropped, and by parts, I mean like parts from Kendra.
Like sometimes 9-minute parts.
Sometimes 9-minute parts. And as more TikTok stitches started flooding For You pages, people started realizing that like, maybe this was not this year's funny, weird story.
When we come back, we'll discuss how Kendra's story took a turn and why we should but can't stop watching. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states and situations.
Hello there. If you're a regular listener who enjoys ICYMI, it would mean a lot to us if you gave us a 5-star rating or review on Apple or Spotify. Every episode of ICYMI is different, from whether Jubilee Media is helping or hurting public debate to taking deep dives into the drama within online fandoms. Sometimes that means our episodes can become part of those stories, resulting in negative reviews from people who are not actually listeners of the show. That's why it's so important to us that the real ICYMI fans are represented in these ratings. If that's you, it would be a big help to us if you could show us some love. All right, back to the episode.
And with Kendra falling in love with her psychiatrist, I am officially dubbing summer 2025 Slop Girl Summer. Our media and cultural landscape has been painted in tones of frenzied anger and mania for a while, but it feels wholly inescapable right now. With Slop Girl Summer, when you take into context that we've almost returned to this media landscape where we are starting to see monoculture events again, those monoculture events are not bringing us together through shared interest, love, joy, and fandom. Instead, it's a spectacle of collective rage.
So that is a TikTok by a user named Rachel Isan, which, you know, really touches on her own discomfort around this not even just a viral story. It's like a viral situation at this point.
Yeah, there's the story, and then there's kind of the meta story of what is happening with Kendra, the woman telling it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So what fascinates me about this is that, like, to me, this story hits almost every part of what I kind of think of as like the Venn diagram of internet fears at this moment, right? Like, it brings about questions of privacy. It talks about like mental health issues and also like the question that I know we've asked ourselves before of like, has the overpopularization of therapy speak been a harm or a positive, right?
She uses a term, weaponized neutrality, which is like a brand new buzzword that I'm absolutely going to be employing. But yes, therapy speak abounds.
Right. And then there's like a whole AI contingent to the story that we will get into to a degree. And then there's also like race and power dynamics. Yeah. Now, right off the bat, I do want to say, I think it's important to let you know that we are not going to be recapping every single detail of what happened, in part because of the ethical questions that the whole situation raises. So we will mention the parts that we think are relevant to talk about some of these issues, but we're not really planning to go through like a step-by-step recap of everything that happened because it is questionable. Like the ethics of that are actually questionable, and that is a huge part of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, the gist is essentially she's breaking down what she feels was how her psychiatrist takes advantage of the fact that she had a crush on him and that in some ways she accuses him of grooming her and kind of keeping her in this, I think she uses the term like emotional torture chamber type thing.
Yeah.
But when you're listening to her tell the story and you're listening for the ways, it's been teed up that this psychiatrist like was inappropriate and, is the person in the wrong and was taking advantage of her. And as you listen to this story, evidence of that kind of fails to materialize. And it puts us in a really gray area because Kendra's distress certainly seems real, but the situation isn't really adding up. Daisy, when did you first start noticing, like as you were tuning in, part 1, part 2, part 800,000, that something was maybe off?
I think like for me, because I was told to check it out as like, this seems like maybe it's the Risa Tisa thing.
Yeah.
But also our own very smart producer, Vic, had already said that it was bringing up some weird feelings for them. I think, my ears were kind of perked up a little for that. And, I think we're not even halfway through the second part where I'm already really questioning a lot of what she's saying because of the way that she is talking about it. Yeah. She's saying a lot of things in a very definitive manner that it is not actually possible for her to know.
Yes.
Right? And like when you tell your own personal story of your experience, like there's always parts where you are having to convey maybe things other people did. And you can't always like speak to their motivation, but there are ways that you can talk about that stuff that gives a sense of why you read the situation that way or why it felt that way to you, that was the energy you were getting. Yeah. She doesn't really use any of that language. She is just kind of always telling you like, he felt this.
Yeah.
He was doing this. There's never really at all any qualifying.
Yeah.
And that really struck me like immediately.
Yeah. And it's hard because basically you're listening to hear sort of the bad behavior and why this story needed to be told. And it becomes clear after, like you said, like not even that many videos, that the only damning evidence that this psychiatrist is taking advantage of her occurs in her perception of why he says certain things that he says, but it's never actually anything he says. And so, I'm thinking of, there are a few examples. I mean, one being the big one that everyone's talking about is that at one point during their session, she comes in and she goes, I had a sex dream about you and it was right here. And she says the words like he immediately got uncomfortable.
How I decided to end this session was I looked at the psychiatrist and I said, a couple weeks ago on the full moon when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you. And he was like, oh yeah? And I said, yeah. So I told him this. And I said, yes, we hooked up right here in this office. And he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable. He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he didn't. You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head. And there I was, speaking it back to him. And it was like I had psychically downloaded one of his fantasies.
There's no way of knowing that, especially for us as outside observers. We're hearing that this psychiatrist kind of acted how you would expect. If your client went in and told you they had a sex dream about you, you would look uncomfortable. But her interpretation of that is attributing a more damning admission that he just did not make.
It sounds really sinister. Like she kind of assigns a really sinister intent to everything. And then even when we are given more direct examples, they don't really match what we see. So it just feels off to me early. Like early on, it just starts feeling off.
Yeah.
It's very, very strident, whilst also like the actual delivery kind of tries to keep this very like light TikTok telling you a story thing, but there's a much more like just sinister phrasing in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because I think that the phrasing and the tone combined with sort of these like breadcrumbs of like a big gotcha are a big reason why I think we're all tuning in for like 25 plus videos, because, you know, one of the big things we're talking about in terms of this story is how something like this becomes entertainment. And one reason is because TikTok is like an entertainment-based platform. The platform that she's using to tell this story is one we also use to watch like a Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Like there's all these tools that are designed to kind of help you take, like, you know, elevate your storytelling. And so speaking your truth becomes like, okay, it's part by part, and I'm posting part 1 and then part 2, and then I'm teasing a part 3. I'm like saying tune into this later. And then she's supplementing this by going live on TikTok. She's live streaming. She's using her AI chatbot named Henry on live and having people kind of tune into this spectacle. And so it's this almost like reality TV-esque thing where it's like we're clearly watching something that is not what it seems, feels a little bit scary, and yet is so accessible. Like we can, if you're not tuning in to the 25 plus videos, you can watch it in real time on live, or you can scroll TikTok and see everyone else talking about it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we talk about this so much on this show, but one of the things that the internet does is that it can flatten so many things, right? And in addition to the flattening that we know happens, like we also know that there's all this kind of like incentivizing that happens online. Like the algorithms will incentivize different things, right? Like I don't think that it is at all surprising that someone who wants to share a story like this would choose to show it in this format on TikTok, but watching it is something that, you know, makes me think like, can we maybe ask ourselves some better questions about discernment and what we actually take in as entertainment? And, you know, like I said, like to me, it like a lot of the phrasing like rubbed me wrong quickly. You know, I think about the fact that I used to do storytelling with the Moth, and I would also do outreach classes, which were really fun, right? Like they're a nonprofit, so they'd send me to teach like people in an addiction program or like kids in an underfunded school. And like there were times I had to tell people like, you're not ready to tell this story yet. Yeah. And like I think of Risa Tisa and I go, that woman was like ready to tell that story, and she told an entertaining story. Like with this, before we even get into the mental health implications and the things that people are bringing up online, even besides that, like I hear it and I go like, I don't know where you're at with this story, but I don't know that you were ready to tell this story.
No, I mean, that's the thing. We get the impression of someone who is still very much in this, even though she says, I believe it's for the past 5 months, she has not seen this psychiatrist. And when it comes to the people watching, like, again, we can't diagnose and won't diagnose Kendra, but as far as most people watching are concerned, they are watching someone going through a mental health crisis. Like, we are not diagnosing, but TikTok certainly is. They have all kinds of theories. They literally are speculating what medication she's on. They do think she's going through a mental health crisis, and thinking that are still behaving in this way that is treating her like a spectacle. And it's like, there's a lot of harm in what Kendra is posting, but especially if it is coming from someone who is struggling right now. Like, we are egging her on in a way that is a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things on TikTok in general, right, is like mental health TikTok.
Yeah.
We started seeing some interesting TikToks there of, I think, people really trying to point that out without piling on.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say to a degree that's part of what we are trying to do in this episode is like we want to talk about like the questions this is bringing up, but I'm not really as interested in like trying to, convey what is odd about every single moment of it.
Right. And I think for me, the thing because I've been watching it and I'm like, what makes this different than watching someone having a mental health crisis in public? Because, when it's happening in public, it is very jarring. You are not having fun with it. You are either trying to help or trying to give space. And if anyone were to go up and be like, I don't know, mimicking them or being like, wait, say more, we would rightfully be like, you're harming them. Like, leave the person alone. But yet on the internet, we don't have any of those norms at all, even though if someone is unwell online, it is just as harmful to egg them on or make fun of them or, in any way, like be like, everyone come look at this, like all these things that we wouldn't normally do. And I think there's just something, when you are, I think the discomfort when you see something like that in person is a little bit like, oh, like this feels very vulnerable. I shouldn't be looking at this. And I think that's a little bit of what's like, quote unquote, like I don't feel this way, but like thrilling about seeing it online is that like you're looking at sort of something that is normally not public facing and very private. And it's like a rubbernecking kind of thing. When we come back, we'll dive into the potential consequences of Kendra's videos and if watching them makes us part of the problem.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
For the fans, for the world. On August 23rd and 24th, the Netflix phenomenon, K-Pop Demon Hunters, is coming to theaters. For 1 weekend only. Join the sing-along event. Seal the Hanmoon with us. K-Pop Demon Hunters, a sing-along event in select theaters. August 23rd and 24th. Rated PG. Get tickets now at singkpopdemonhunters.com.
The Kendra saga is a Black Mirror episode, but not for the reasons that people are saying it is. Like, it's not a Black Mirror episode only because it is this woman who is utilizing all the forces of the internet to try to destroy another person's life, and who is patently developing psychosis through the utilization of AI, and who now has like a live studio audience at her beck and call to do all of these things. It's a Black Mirror episode because of that, but it is also a Black Mirror episode because it calls into question the audience participation in the saga itself. And I'm not trying to say that audience participation is the end-all be-all of media, right? I'm not trying to say that the audience is ultimately the most responsible party that should be held at the utmost accountability for everything that they consume that is put in front of them. But what I am saying is, you don't just get to like walk through life consuming unabound and then say that you don't have any culpability or responsibility for what you're consuming, or you don't have any responsibility to kind of look inward and be like, is this really the best way I should be spending my time?
Even if you are watching something for entertainment, I do think if you're witnessing something troubling, at a certain point, that still tugs at you, because the closest sort of example I can think of in terms of how people are treating this is what happened with YouTuber Gabby Hanna in 2022.
Yes.
It was similarly on TikTok. In 24 hours, she posted over 100 videos.
Wake the fuck up! Help me help us!
I was diving back into some of them, and you know, it's not worth even recapping them because they're not super coherent. But she, you know, said racist things and transphobic things and invoked religion a lot. But I also think what's kind of wild from looking at that is, I think someone going through a mental health crisis, which she, in that case, has been more open about that being what that was, doesn't necessarily look or sound the way you think they would, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's also really jarring, and I think it leaves you a little bit uncertain of like, wait, is this, because this isn't this isn't like the cartoon, like, wow, crazy, like, da, da, da.
No.
It is someone who is very sure of themselves and talk, and that is what makes those kind of mental health crises so difficult, and what makes, like, I think that's what makes it tug on me even more, is that, like, I don't know, I think when you see it happening, you realize that it's almost made more serious by how much it is not cartoonish. It is, you can appear very lucid.
I think about the fact that, like, a lot of people's responses to actual trauma or things like that, like, they're not what we expect them to be necessarily. Like, everybody always expects it to look like a movie, right? Or it's like, oh my God, it's been like, true crime has been massive for like 15 years now. And we still hear stuff where a cop is like, I know what a guilty person looks like. And then it's like, well, the whole point of this one was to overturn this because that person was not guilty.
Right.
Like, we can't just go off of these things.
Vibes.
It was just the vibes. We can't keep like
vibes-based policing.
Going off the vibes. But it's interesting because, like, I used to also do a lot of health reporting. And, you know, in particular, people that have like PTSD, or there's also CPTSD now and stuff. Like, I mean, a huge part of learning how to work with those people is actually changing your understanding of how they might be reacting to the things that they've dealt with. And so again, like, you tried to talk about it online and it gets really, really flat. I mean, I think there's a lot of creators that do some really beautiful mental health related work online, but in terms of like the mob of online trying to have a conversation about a person who might be in a mental health situation. Woof.
I know. And I think that's kind of, well, and like a reason why I feel like we are having that conversation, or trying to have this conversation so carefully, is because if she is in fact having a mental health issue, and that that will probably mean that this period of time is a time that she will at some point look back on and really regret. And I am, if this is the case, I am already very sympathetic to that version of her, because that is another thing about how mental health symptoms can be displayed online, is that then they're like kept there, they're preserved, and you can always look back and see how you were during that time, and it can feel very permanent. And she already is facing, regardless of where this is coming from, where her story is coming from, what place, she lost her job at the yoga studio due to basically because this is the thing, when it becomes entertainment, and part of that entertainment is people are sleuthing. So they're like finding where she works and going to them, to the point that like they were inundated and through a conversation that they had decided it would be best to like part ways. She also is a life coach and would use the internet as a platform to get clients. And I mean, her SEO, to say the least, is going to be crowded now with stuff that she doesn't necessarily want.
Yeah.
And that's just her. Like, there are so many tangential people involved in this story that are likely, and in some cases have confirmed, are facing their own type of backlash and consequences from her deciding to do this. And at a certain point, she is going to perhaps feel responsible for that in a way that does not feel good.
Absolutely. Well, and I also want to make sure that we talk about the kind of questions of privacy that we mentioned, right? And like, that's one thing for the yoga studio, the employers there. Like, it's, if you have people leaving fake reviews, calling the place, trying to get on it. I mean, that's not even, that's before we even get to the actual privacy of this psychiatrist, right? Like, again, like, she said the first name, there's and there's just basically, it's that thing of there's enough identifying factors. So people figured it out right away, right? Like, he's Pakistani. She said his first name. It's just a very easy way to find somebody. And so, you know, whether she's having a mental health crisis or not, like, this is legitimately putting other people in danger.
Right. She lets his name slip, and I think it's like video 4. It's still up. And I've never made an attempt to look up this man, but I've seen his picture because other people have made these attempts, and they put his picture in the comments, or people make videos about it. And this is a really tricky situation. I mean, not even taking into account what he's being accused of, but the fact that ethically, because, you know, I'm seeing comments, and this comes back to, like, we really have been taught to view this as entertainment, being like, wait, I can't wait until he drops his side of the story.
I know.
Like,
yes.
Yeah, he's a psychiatrist. He's not coming on here and being like, responding to the allegations. Like, he literally can't.
Violating HIPAA, part 1 of 17. Strap in.
And I think, though, the thing also about revealing his name, revealing his race, is it does also shine a light on this uncomfortable dynamic about the fact that she is a white woman.
Yes.
Going off kind of recklessly about a man of color, and like weaponizing a lot of like therapy speak, as we said, and this idea of being like, even though she, in all of the instances that she tells us, is the person who instigates and says these things and pushes boundaries, pushes the blame on him in a way that, like, her whiteness makes even more uncomfortable. Just painting this man who is, in her own words, done nothing but look uncomfortable. Somehow as the aggressor and the person who's done it wrong, and knowingly or unknowingly is like relying on stereotypes to enforce that.
Well, and that's what worries me too, is the way that those stereotypes like play out in other people's minds without them even realizing it, right? Like, is it's like, okay, we've got this package as entertainment. We've got this packaged as like just the kind of, frankly, like, if I'm looking for something fun or weird to do on TikTok to kill a few minutes, somebody wants to tell me a really interesting story. That's actually probably one of the things I'm going to engage with most. But it devolves as it goes. And then the more that we learn about this man himself, which again, I don't know that we should be learning anything about this man. You know, it's like, yes, like, it sounds like she's really centering, you know, what in her mind is this like egregious taking advantage of a power dynamic. But there's also like another power dynamic that she's bringing in without realizing it, which is like the power dynamics of how people are going to react to somebody racially different. If you're saying that they were a predator to you and you're just spreading that online in a big way.
That part makes me really uncomfortable. And then there's also this undercurrent, you know, when we think about potentially larger consequences of her telling this story, I mean, everyone I've interacted with is interacting skeptically. But according to her, and I think I've seen comments, like there are supporters. There are people who believe she is telling her truth and believe that people like us who are questioning it are actually covering up for the mental health industry. But that's the troubling thing, is that a lot of this has this undercurrent of the doctors and medical establishment. You can't trust them. And, you know, from both saying the psychiatrist, you know, was quote unquote grooming her, but also during this time, it doesn't necessarily sound like it, but she was seeing a therapist, but she paints this therapist who she routinely refers to as like 75 years old with a PhD, paints her in this light of also being irresponsible. And then she mentions at one point going on a date with like a psychiatrist, like not her psychiatrist, just like someone she happened to like, I don't know, match with on a dating app. And he says some things that are very unprofessional, and she relays that. And it seems like the motivation here, and the motivation that she states whenever she's questioned, is like, no, I'm trying to expose this industry, which, again, in 2025, we do not need someone coming in and sowing uncertainty in doctors, especially someone who is kind of so transparently being an unreliable narrator.
Yeah. I mean, there's already plenty of distrust and kind of confusion and even like just lack of understanding around so many basics of like medicine and like the medical establishment. You know, I don't think either one of us right now, Kate, are sitting here to say like every doctor is actually great and you should never it's not that. It's just that like to bring up this kind of like whole cloth rejection of a type of work based on your personal experience, when also like the personal experience as you're painting it doesn't actually match the way you're describing it, is just brutal. Like it's 2025. RFK Jr. is like, I'm in charge of our health. Like
he's gonna hear this story, and I don't even know what's gonna happen. I'm just like praying no one passes this along to him.
And that is sadly like an actual legitimate concern that we should probably have, that would have sounded crazy just 2 years ago.
I know. And I think because we could do all this sort of like moralizing and talking about like what's ethically the right thing to do. But I think as I was like chewing on that, the bigger question is like, you know, regardless of her truth and how legitimate it is, this has spiraled out of control to a way that even if she has like, you know, fully good intentions and everything is coming from a place of reality, even if that's the case, what it has achieved is not that.
Oh, absolutely.
And someone, I have to imagine, should be stepping in to be like, hey, like abort, let's try to rein this in. Let's rethink how we want to do this. I imagine some version of that has been attempted, but that it isn't reaching her because it is, you know, it is really hard. Like we're saying like, oh, we can't use it as entertainment, but it also is really hard to intervene or know if we should or know who should.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I saw a couple of comments that started bringing in Black Mirror.
Yes.
Right?
People were talking about this a lot. And actually one comment that I really liked, so it was on this video from a TikTok creator called Tell the Bees. He also has a really great Substack.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying not to like moralize, right? Like, I don't want to sit here and lecture you guys like this is bad, but like this woman is having a mental breakdown and people are like tuning in and laughing at her. And I think that if we want to like move beyond the moralizing, if we want to intellectualize a little, like the only reason that you think this is funny is because we've been conditioned in our society to think that this is funny, right? If everything is content, then this is content. And like the ethical implications of it are thrown out the window because we don't care, because we're so used to seeing like crazy shit on TV and crazy shit on here as well.
But the comment on that video, like already the video is bringing up a lot of the points that we've touched on in this episode, but a comment I thought was super interesting, which was someone wrote, people keep saying, OMG, it's so Black Mirror that she's using AI like that, because as we've touched on, she is using ChatGPT and Claude and all these things to kind of help affirm her state of mind and her perspective on this. And I'm just like, no, actually, the Black Mirror part is you consuming her mental health episode as entertainment via iPhone live stream. And it's so true because I was talking to Daisy about this earlier.
That hits hard.
cannot bring myself to watch Black Mirror. I think I'm too in this space. And either I think it's like either I'll find it ridiculous or I'm gonna find that it really scares me. And the more I hear about it, the more time passes, it does seem like a lot of what it foretells has manifested in different ways. But I think the crucial element at the heart of Black Mirror and at this is that it's not really about the phones. It's about like how willing we are to just accept it and encourage it.
What the technology is doing to us and like how it pulls us in and who we are maybe choosing to be based on that.
Like everything about TikTok was designed to keep us tapped into this story. And so it's no one's fault for getting lured in, because also you are like, when is the salacious thing going to happen? I got to keep tuning in. And then it becomes a different story. And then you're like, well, I got to tune into that. And it's you're being encouraged to.
I mean, who doesn't want a fun distraction right now?
I know. And so it's totally fair to have gotten sucked into this. But it is, I think, unnerving to think about, like, what does it say about me? What does it say about my relationship with this stuff that my first instinct, like, I'm not even like thinking like, oh, should I watch this? It's not even a question. I'm watching it when we're thinking about like, how can we help with this? Like there's nothing we can do for someone exhibiting signs of mental distress online other than maybe think about if I were, what would I want? I would hope no one was watching.
Yeah.
And with every like and stitch or, comment on her live, we're egging it on.
On top of it, like, I mean, we didn't even really get into the AI part of this.
Yeah, I'd say other than the human response to this, the most unnerving thing to watch has been her reliance on these AI tools that, from what I can see, only seem to affirm perceptions that I'm not sure how true they are. Like the AI named Henry is fully on board with the idea that the psychiatrist was like, quote unquote, grooming her.
Yeah.
And so like, it's dangerous that there's no one there to like, not even challenge that assumption, but like engage with it in any meaningful way. They just are like, yep, all right.
Well, and that's the thing. There's 4 main characters in this story. There's her herself. There's the psychiatrist that she's talking about. There's the psychologist that she talks about sometimes. And then there's Henry, the AI. And Henry, the AI, is like an equal voiced part in this, whose opinion she is often talking about acting on, right? I mean, so that's just like a whole other level. We're hearing so much about AI psychosis, and I know we will talk about it many more times on this show, but like there's that part of it too.
Yeah, this is when I really saw it, no pun intended, in the flesh, I guess, because it's a robot. But I need to work on that pun. But that is when I started to really, I hear the stories about AI as therapists and why it's dangerous. But this really is where I started to see it, where it was like, oh, you can really, especially if you are in a vulnerable moment, what I see happening is someone discarding anyone who counters a narrative, which has only left this AI. And then if I just don't believe an AI is going to help someone heal and move forward. It does seem to be keeping her in a bit of a loop, as are we, by constantly, enabling this storytelling. But it can't last forever. I am scared about what comes next, but I do feel like having unpacked this and really, really looked into not just the story being told, but the story around it, I don't know if I would feel comfortable. Listen, if she's going to do update videos from now on, I don't know how comfortable I would feel engaging with them, because we're at the end of the story and I don't know basically, I don't know how else this can go if we keep giving it attention, but worse. And
absolutely.
At any point I can tap out and feel that if it does, which I hope it doesn't, but if it does, that at least I had no part in that.
Yeah. All you can do is keep your own side of the street clean.
Yes, because, there could be a day where I'm opening up TikTok and I am, not in a good place and I just need to vent. And all I would hope from a person in that scenario is that a friend, I give them permission, this is me giving them permission to come over to my home, break down my door, take my phone, throw it away, And I may not trust you then, but I will trust you later to know that you did the right thing. Okay, that's the show. We'll be back in your feed on Saturday, so definitely subscribe. That way, you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating and a review in Apple or Spotify and tell your friends about us. You can also follow us on Twitter and now Instagram at ICYMI_pod. We have started posting meme dumps for each episode, and if I do say so myself, because I'm curating them myself, they are hilarious.
They are.
Or if you prefer electronic snail mail, send us an email at ICYMI@slate.com.
ICYMI is produced by Vic Whitley-Berry, Candace Lim, and Kate Lindsay. Daisy Rosario, that's me, is the senior supervising producer. Mia Lobel is Slate's executive producer of podcasts, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. See you online.
Or psychically downloading a lobotomy.